Hello there, and welcome to Whispers to Sleep. My name is David, and I'm truly honored to be your guide tonight. Here we believe sleep is not just a routine. It's a gentle journey, a quiet return to peace every night. I craft stories with care, so your mind can rest and your body can soften. All you need to do is let go. Take a slow deep breath in, and as you breathe out, allow the day to melt away. Close your eyes. Get cozy under the covers and let my voice lead you into calm, into comfort, into dreams. This is your time, your memento. Truly relax. Let's begin. The sky does not fall when night comes. It exhales, slowly, as if it too has held its breath all day. Now, at last, it releases, not with noise, but with color, with stillness, with change. You lie on your back, and above you, the blue begins to thin, not fade, not yet, but stretch into something softer, a kind of smoky velvet, as if the air has been gently cooled by thought. The sun lowers behind the edge of the world, not in a hurry, but as a favor, as if it knows you needed a slower evening. This is the beginning of the evening of the 4th. It could be any 4th. April, July, November. It doesn't matter, because this moment isn't about dates. It's about patterns and what your body remembers before your mind catches up. The earth turns. It always has. You cannot feel it. No wind against your cheek says, "We're spinning." But the light changes. Not abruptly. It withdraws like tide from shore, leaving behind long shadows like footprints in sand, somewhere hundreds of miles. Above, the atmosphere is catching the last of the sunlight, scattering it in the higher layers. That's why the sky turns orange, then pink, then indigo. Short wavelengths, blues and violets, scatter first. Longer ones, reds and golds, linger, painting clouds like slow-burning fire. You are not just watching light fade. You are watching photons change direction. You are watching the chemistry of the heavens. Evening is not the absence of day. It's a rearrangement, a soft transference of energy across air, moisture, and memory. You breathe in, cooler now. The warmth of the afternoon has fallen into the grass. The air feels less crowded, not empty, but more spacious, as if the molecules themselves have relaxed their pace. You feel your chest expand. You feel time stretch. Above you, the first star appears, not because it has turned on. It was always there. It just had to wait for light to loosen its grip. Evening is about thresholds. You do not fall into night. You descend gently into it, like sinking slowly beneath a warm bath. Your eyes, still adjusting, begin to notice more. Movement in the trees, shadows on rooftops, the outline of a moth's wings fluttering by. Light makes things visible. But it's in the fading of light that we begin to feel the world. Time, too, behaves differently now. The tick of the clock no longer pushes, it floats. Even the sound of it, if you're close enough, seems quieter. Your brain, less flooded by stimuli, begins to notice what's left behind. A kind of hush, a pause between thoughts. You look to the sky again. It's darker now. The clouds are gone, or maybe just invisible. The stars, once shy, now begin to speak more clearly. And yet, even in this stillness, something stirs inside. You, a flicker of familiarity, as though you've lived this exact evening before. Not just once, but many times. Could it be that the body remembers patterns the mind forgets? Science would say yes. Your internal clock, your circadian rhythm, is older than your name. It hums beneath your conscious thoughts, telling your cells when to wake, when to rest, when to dream. It responds not to your watch, but to the light, to this very dimming sky. On the evening of the 4th, the signal comes quietly. Not a whisper, not a sound, but a biochemical shift. Your pineal gland begins to stir, It is small, the size of a grain of rice, but powerful. It begins to release melatonin, the hormone of night, a message that travels through your blood, telling your body, it is time not to sleep. Not yet, but to prepare, to soften, to let go. You may not notice this consciously, but your limbs feel heavier. The noises around you become gentler. Even your thoughts seem to tread more lightly, as if wearing socks instead of shoes. The sky above is almost black now, but not empty. It is filled with the quiet work of physics and biology, of rotation and reflection, of memory and matter. And you, lying still beneath it, are part of that work. Part of the dance between planet and atmosphere, between photon and pigment, between sky and skin. Not so much of science begins with observation. And you, in this moment, are the observer. Not the analyst, not the solver. Just the witness. You lie there on the cusp of night, listening not with ears, but with every fiber of your presence. This is not just the end of day. This is the opening of something ancient, something that has happened billions of times and will happen billions more. And in this particular one, this fourth, this evening, there is something you almost remember. Something your body knows before your mind can name it. A moment stored not in words, but in sensation. The sky holds its breath. So do you. And beneath the silence, a rhythm begins. A shift you cannot see, but soon you will feel that something is already happening inside you, just as the world outside prepares to dim its light a little further, not into sleep yet, but into that soft waiting place where your body knows the hour. Your body knows more than you tell it, more than the clocks tell it, more than the lists and lights and alarms. It listens to something quieter, older, a rhythm whispered in atoms and encoded in cells, a rhythm that hums beneath the noise of every day. You may not hear it with your ears, but every part of you responds when the sky begins to dim. As the colors cool and shadows lengthen, your body begins to shift gently, invisibly, as if a conductor has raised a baton, and the orchestra begins to hush. This hour between light and night is not just for the world outside. It is for your inside world too, the one made of muscle and memory, nerves and breath, the one that remembers things you never learned. Evening doesn't just fall on the earth, it falls inside you. There, deep in the center of your brain, sits something small, barely the size of a grain of rice. The pineal gland, nestled between the hemispheres, hidden behind your eyes, silent by day, but when light begins to fade, it wakes. This little gland does not need language. It reads the sun like a dial. When photons stop arriving, when darkness stretches its hand across the land, the pineal begins its work. It releases melatonin, a hormone, a signal, a nighttime lullaby written in molecules. Melatonin moves quietly through your blood, not in a rush. It is not in a hurry. It is like ink dropped into still water. It spreads, it seeps, softening your edges, blurring the hard lines of the day. You do not feel it arrive. There is no grand announcement. But suddenly, you yawn. Your eyes blink a little slower. The world seems gentler, dimmer, more forgiving. This is not sleep. Not yet. It is the beginning of letting go. It is the body saying, I see the night coming. I remember what to do. Long before we had electricity, long before screens and digital time, your ancestors knew this hour. Not through thinking, but through being. They sat by fires, listened to owls, felt the cool air touch their skin, and their bodies, like yours, responded. Melatonin is not the only messenger. The whole symphony begins to slow. Your heart rate lowers. Your core body temperature dips. Digestion slows. Muscles begin to relax. This is the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your body that governs rest. The one that says, "You've done enough for now. You may stop pushing, Dot. It's like a tide reversing. A slow retreat from the shores. Of action, Dot, your blood vessels open, allowing warmth to drift from your core toward your skin. That's why your fingers and toes might feel cooler. Your body is preparing you gently to enter the dark. Even your brain changes its pace. Throughout the day, it runs fast, waves of beta rhythms, sharp and focused. But now, as melatonin rises, those waves shift. They lengthen. They soften. Alpha. Waves begin to flutter in, like butterflies slowing their wings at dusk. You may feel calm, drowsy, still awake, but loosened from the grip of urgency. This is the first doorway. And your body, wise and well practiced, walks through it every night, even when your mind is still catching up. But here, on the evening of the 4th, something feels different. Familiar, yes, but also tinged with something else. A question, a memory in the marrow, as if your body remembers something it has no words for. Perhaps this date holds meaning. Not the kind you write in calendars, but the kind your biology circles, year after year. Some researchers speak of circannual rhythms, patterns that unfold not just over days, but over seasons. Maybe your cells are marking a larger cycle. Maybe the evening of the 4th is a turning point, an invisible hinge between what has passed and what's coming next. Or maybe it's simpler. Maybe tonight, your body is just more attuned. Because you've given it space, because you've paused, because you're listening now. You notice the way your breath deepens, the way your shoulders release tension you didn't know you carried, the way your thoughts grow quieter, not because they've stopped, but because they've settled into the rhythm of the dark. Even the way you blink changes, slower, longer, more like a curtain being drawn than a shutter snapping closed. And what of your eyes? Inside them, the retina is doing its work too. The cones, your color receptors, rest. The rods, better for night, take over. Your pupils widen like open doors, welcoming in what little light remains. Your eyes are not just passive observers. They are part of the signal system, telling your brain, night is here. It's all so seamless. The choreography of change. Your body does not need commands. It simply responds. And this moment, this hush before sleep, is one of the most intelligent things your body ever does. Not because it's flashy, but because it's faithful, reliable, tuned to nature's rhythm even when you're not. You are not separate from the sunset. You are not other than the evening. You are made of the same atoms, guided by the same rotations, rooted in the same cycles. So when the light fades, you fade with it. Not into oblivion, but into a slower kind of awareness. And still, even as this process unfolds, you are awake, watching, feeling, noticing what the body knows. It is a quiet marvel, a biological ballet, an unfolding that has happened every night of your life, yet remains always a little magical. And perhaps tonight, you feel the magic a little more clearly. Because tonight is the 4th, and something, though you can't name it, feels gently familiar. There's still more your body is preparing for. Not just rest, a transition, not just stillness, but surrender. What comes next is not falling asleep, but learning how the shadows speak when the lights go out. Light slips away, but it does not vanish. It lingers, it folds, it reshapes. And where it bends or breaks, shadows begin to speak. You notice them now. Not harsh, not sharp, but gentle outlines, soft edges painted in dusky gray. They are not voids. They are signatures, the language of light reshaped by matter. The world looks different in shadow. Not less real, but more mysterious. Surfaces lose their brilliance, and instead, depth emerges. It's as if reality has moved inward, a quiet intimacy between you and the dark. Your eyes adjust, not by choice, but by design. The cones, the cells that once danced in sunlight, begin to rest. They fade into stillness like petals closing after bloom. And something else takes over. Rods, not shaped like cones, not color-loving or sharp-focused, but better for this moment. Better for the absence of glare. They awaken when the world softens, built not for brilliance, but for survival in low. Light dot inside your retina. Millions of these rods begin to listen. They're not blind in the dark. They are specialists in it. They don't speak in color, but in shape, motion, contrast. They whisper, here is form. Here is movement. Here is stillness. Your night vision begins to rise like fog from a lake. Everything looks slightly cooler now, tinted in blue and silver. It's not an illusion. It's physics. Colors fade when there's not enough light to stir them. What remains is luminance, the raw texture of light's echo. And in that echo, shadows bloom. They stretch behind every shape. They lean long. Across the floor. They climb up walls, wrap around corners, and merge with other shadows. But no two are quite the same. Each one tells a story about distance, direction, intensity, and interference. Shadows are not accidents. They are records of light's journey. You watch your own shadow lengthen across the room. At midday, it's sharp, loyal, predictable. But now, in this softened light, it moves more slowly, like it's unsure whether it belongs to you or the night. And perhaps that's the truth. Shadows are part you, part world, part light. They are not simply dark. They are the shape of something in between. Outside your window, trees sway. Their leaves cast hundreds of moving silhouettes, each dancing in time with the wind, each revealing the gaps between things. That's what shadows do. They reveal shape through absence. And absence, you realize, is not emptiness. It's a different kind of presence. A quieter kind. One that allows you to see by contrast, not collision. Photons, the tiny messengers of light, don't disappear when night falls. Some are absorbed. Some are scattered. Some pass right by, unchanged dot. When a photon meets your eye, it has traveled. Perhaps for seconds, or, in the case of starlight, thousands of years. It reaches you at last, only to vanish in a chemical reaction. One moment of contact, one flash of signal, one electric whisper to the brain, and then it is gone. You don't see the photon itself. You see what your brain paints from that signal. You see the suggestion, a line, a shape, a memory. The brain is not passive. It guesses. It edits. It fills in. In the dark, it works even harder, assembling a world from fewer cues. Softer edges, quieter light. Shadows become its clues. It uses them to guess depth, to calculate motion, to distinguish what is near and what is imagined. The brain doesn't just receive the night. It creates it. Sometimes it even creates shadows that aren't there. Illusionary edges, imagined depth, phantom movement. Not because it's broken, but because it is trying to help you see with too little information. This is how vision becomes interpretation, and interpretation becomes sensation, and sensation becomes story. You remember being a child, afraid of shadows on the wall. They seemed alive, shifting monsters, reaching limbs. But it was your brain, not the dark, that gave them shape and breath. Now, older, you see differently. You know that a coat on a chair is just that, even when it looks like something else. But the mystery remains. And somewhere in that mystery is wonder. Science explains shadows as interactions. Light, striking matter, bending, blocking, scattering. But science does not make them less magical. If anything, it gives them roots. You begin to understand that darkness isn't the enemy of light. It's its partner, its sculptor, its frame. Without shadows, there would be no dimension, no volume, no subtlety. Art relies on them. So does sleep. So does thought. Your eyelids flutter, not from fatigue, but from fascination. The room is dim now, but not lifeless. Everything holds shape, not from light, but from the edges of it. And just like that, you realize you don't need full illumination to feel safe. You don't need to see everything. Some of the world can remain a silhouette and still be understood. Your breath moves slower. Your eyes, now wide, relax at last. The rods have fully taken over. Your vision is grainier, yes, but peaceful. There's a reason twilight feels like a spell, because it's a threshold, because it belongs to both worlds and to neither. And as you drift in this gentle space between seeing and sensing, you wonder what else hides in plain sight, what else speaks in whispers, not words. Because just as shadows reveal form, so too do memories. They rise not as bright pictures, but as outlines, traces, echoes, and some memories only appear when the light is just right. There is an hour when the sky turns neither gold nor black, but blue, a deep, dusky blue that feels like breath held between two moments. It's not quite night, not quite day. A soft pause, wrapped in velvet, humming gently with memory. You lie still in the fading light, and your body listens, yes, but now your mind begins to listen too. Not to the outside world, but to the quiet inside, to the subtle music of thought and recollection. This is the hour when memories stir, not loudly, not all at once, but gently, like leaves moving underwater. A fragment here, a scent, a feeling, the ghost of a voice you forgot you heard. The day does not simply end, it replays. It folds in on itself like pages turning backward. And somewhere inside your brain, a small, ancient structure begins its sacred task. The hippocampus. Its name means seahorse, and that's what it looks like, curled and hidden deep within the folds of your brain. But it doesn't swim. It weaves, it sorts. It decides what to keep. Each moment you live today, each conversation, sound, face, movement, passed through the hippocampus like a thread through a loom. And now, as darkness deepens, it begins again. Not to experience, but to remember. Scientists call it consolidation, the process by which short-term memories are turned into long-term ones. But it doesn't feel like science. It feels like art. Your brain is a painter in the dark, layering. Images trimming details, softening some edges while sharpening others. Some memories fade by design. Others cling, glowing faintly like stars just below the horizon of awareness. And sometimes something comes back. A smell from your childhood. A conversation from years ago. A memory that doesn't belong to today, but has somehow slipped in with the rest. You don't summon it. It arrives. Maybe because the blue hour invites it. Maybe because your mind is quiet enough to hear. Memories are not stored like files. They are webs. Clusters of neurons lighting up in delicate choreography. Not one location, but many. Not a copy of life, but a reconstruction. Your hippocampus connects them. Not just what happened, but where and when and how it felt. And because it is tied to emotion, some memories echo louder than others. They resonate. Even years later, they return like familiar footsteps in a hallway. Tonight, one rises. You don't know why. But there it is, the evening of the 4th. Not this one, but another. Long ago, you were smaller then. The light was similar, quiet, blue, forgiving. And someone spoke your name. You remember the way it sounded. Not the exact words, but the feeling. The way it landed in your chest like warmth. The way it opened something inside you that hadn't fully closed since. Was that memory important? Maybe not, but it mattered. And your hippocampus knows the difference. It doesn't measure memories by time, but by meaning. In this hour, it plays them back in dreams you haven't yet fallen into. It stirs them gently through your bloodstream, like a song you almost remember the lyrics to. And with each passing minute, your mind slips further into softness, into surrender. You do not need to cling to the memories. They're not leaving. They're becoming part of you, rewoven, encoded, strengthened. Not through effort, but through rhythm. The brain does this every night, even when you don't feel it. Even when you sleep. It files away what matters and lets go of what doesn't. Not to erase, but to make space. For tomorrow. For new stories. You are not the same person you were this morning. You never are. Because every night, your brain rewrites a little of who you are. It isn't betrayal. It's biology. It's grace. Tonight, the hippocampus works quietly, but with devotion. Its pathways strengthen. Synapses fire like lanterns being lit, forming trails between experiences. And tomorrow. When you reach for a thought, a face, a word, an idea, you'll find it waiting. You'll call it memory. But it's more than that. It's your story, being written in the quiet of your sleep. And all of this begins now, in the blue hour, in the hush, in this single evening that holds more meaning than you can fully name. You watch the sky grow darker. Not black, not yet. Still that rich indigo, like ink poured slowly across silk. The stars are beginning to arrive. First, the bold ones, then the shy ones. You wonder if each one holds a memory, if your brain, like the sky, reveals its most precious pieces only when the world goes quiet. And maybe that's the secret, that we do not remember through force. We remember through stillness, through blue light, through silence, through soft transitions. You breathe deeper. You close your eyes, not to shut out the world, but to welcome the next part of yourself. Because even as memories echo, something else stirs on the edge of thought, not the past, but the present moment becoming still. Stillness so full, it begins to feel heavy. In that weight, you begin to wonder what the body does with silence. Stillness arrives slowly, not as a halt, but as a hush. Not as emptiness, but as something full. It settles over you like a blanket you didn't know you were wearing. And suddenly, everything within you begins to lower its voice. Your breath, once deep with the work of the day, now thins to a whisper. Your chest rises gently, without effort. Your lungs do not need to be told. They simply understand. This is not sleep. Not yet. This is the invitation, the winding down of internal engines. The stretch of the parasympathetic nervous system. That soft, quiet branch of your body's design built for recovery, healing, and peace. You may not think of it often, but it lives inside you always. Its job is not to run from tigers or climb deadlines. Its job is to restore, to bring you back to baseline, to prepare your body for deep rest. And now, as you lie here in the half-dark, your parasympathetic system begins its gentle reign. Your heart rate slows. Your blood pressure drops, not dangerously, but delicately, like a leaf settling onto a still pond. Not a splash, just a knowing. The muscles in your neck and shoulders, tense without permission all day, begin to release. You don't even notice it at first, only that you feel lighter, less held. The stillness isn't empty. It has weight. It presses down softly, like the gravity of sleep, arriving in waves. Each wave asks less of you. Each wave asks you to let go just a little more. You begin to feel the weight of your limbs. Not heaviness from tiredness, but presence. Awareness without effort. A recognition that you are here, and you do not need to move. Stillness in this way is not a passive state. It is active, purposeful, intelligent. It is a signal that your body has entered the edge of night dot inside your brain, a different. Pace begins. Stress hormones, like cortisol, begin to fade. Their surge from earlier in the day softens, like a tide pulling away from shore god instead. Oxytocin may rise. Endorphins may trickle in. These are your body's quiet caretakers, chemicals of comfort. Ease repair dot, and below that layer, your immune system prepares. White blood cells check their roots. Tissue repair begins to stir. Tiny repairs start in your muscles, your organs. Your skin dot, nothing flashy, just maintenance. Just quiet brilliance. Stillness is the gate that opens this work. It tells the body, we're done running now. You're safe. You may mend. And your thoughts, those constant ripples across the minds. Surface, begin to space out. You're not forcing silence. You're allowing it. Thoughts still come, but they feel slower, rounder, like pebbles skipping across water and eventually sinking into calm. You begin to hear things you missed all day. The hum of the air, the rhythm of your own breath, the sound of your pulse in your ears, steady as a tide. Your mind is no longer scanning for what's next. It is learning how to be in the in-between. And somewhere, without you realizing, your body shifts into what scientists call a rest and digest state. Your digestive system, long ignored by stress, begins its work again. Blood flows back to the belly. Nutrients are absorbed. The quiet healing resumes. Stillness is not the opposite of doing. It is doing just on a deeper level. Even your temperature shifts. The body cools slightly, signaling sleep to approach. It's a nudge, not a push. A preparation, not a plunge. Your fingers uncurl. Your jaw relaxes. Your spine rests without bracing. Stillness is not about freezing. It is about returning to balance, to home, to self. You do not need to try to be still. You simply let this stillness that's already in you rise dot, and on this particular evening, this quiet fourth, the stillness feels deeper, heavier, as if you've crossed an invisible threshold. Maybe you have. Maybe your body recognizes something you haven't. Named a season turning, a memory reawakening, or just the gentle gravity of letting go, truly letting go. For the first time in a long while, stillness teaches you that you are not broken. You are simply overfull. And now, in this space, you have begun to pour it out. No urgency. Number. Fixing. Just the quiet return to rhythm. And in this rhythm, your body prepares for something more. Not silence, but surrender. Not stillness, but the slow descent that follows. Because the edge of sleep is near now. And sleep, like stillness, arrives not with force, but with mathematics, with sequence, with layers. You are not falling, not into sleep, not into unconsciousness. You are descending, softly, carefully, like stepping barefoot down a spiral staircase of thought. This descent follows a rhythm. It is not chaotic. It is structured, ordered. By the gentle mathematics of your biology, the first step is slowing. Your mind, which has moved all day in sharp lines and fast circuits, begins to soften its pace. Brain waves change. They always do, even if you're not aware of them. During the day, you think in beta waves. Quick, alert, tightly packed patterns, the language of attention. But now, as stillness deepens, your brain begins to hum in alpha. Smoother, looser. Like ocean swells after a long storm. Alpha is the space between wakefulness and rest. The moment when thoughts still appear, but float rather than shout. Ideas become images. Concerns become clouds. You drift toward the edge, and then you step again. Into theta. Theta waves are slower still. They are the mind's lullaby. Dreamlike, intuitive, foggy in the most beautiful way. They do not ask you to think. They invite you to surrender. And it's here, in the shift from alpha to theta, that something crucial happens. The gatekeeper of sleep arrives. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. It's not a name meant for bedtime, but the work it does is pure quiet. GABA is your brain's calming chemical. It slows the firing of neurons. It silences unnecessary chatter. It is the molecular hush, a neurotransmitter made to ease, to smooth, to still. Think of your thoughts as a hallway full of doors. Some open, some closed, some swinging wildly. GABA walks through that hall and gently begins to shut them. Not slam, just press them softly closed. You may still think, but now your thoughts do not multiply. They dissolve. They float to the edges. They lose urgency. And in that space, your body and mind become aligned. They speak the same language now. Slow, rhythmic, dream-bound. Your eyelids may flutter. Not from exhaustion, but from transition. Behind them, the brain is already rehearsing fragments of sleep. You see images. Not full dreams yet, but flashes. A face, a street, a sensation with no anchor. Your muscles twitch slightly. A signal that your body is letting go of conscious control. You may feel as if you're falling, but again, you're not. That jolt, that sensation, is your brain misinterpreting your descent, because part of the brain, the reticular activating system, still clings to the idea of being awake. It watches the transition carefully, hesitant to let you go too fast. And on this night, the fourth, the hesitation feels stronger. Not resistance, but reflection. As if some part of you, halfway down the staircase, stops and turns to look back at the day. It isn't regret. It isn't worry. It's wonder. You sense that something today meant more than you realized. A conversation. A pattern in the clouds. The way the light moved through the window just before evening. Your hippocampus, still quietly at work, files it away as significant. And as you descend further into theta, your brain prepares to dream about it, because this is when the sorting happens. The brain takes what it gathered and begins to decide what stays. It isn't random. It's patterned, coded through repetition, emotion, and novelty. A strange word you heard for the first time. A strong feeling that fluttered briefly. The color of a stranger's scarf that reminded you of home. All of it is data. But more than that, all of it is story. And sleep is the writer. Your mind, now drifting between layers, prepares to encode these things not just as facts, but as part of you. Synapses connect. Neurons fire. Cells whisper across the night. And slowly, gently, your consciousness fades from the driver's seat. Sleep is not the flip of a switch. It's the dimming of a room with 1,000 tiny lamps, each one turned off at its own time. And still, as you drift lower, your body continues its rituals. Your muscles relax further. Your jaw loosens. Your fingers curl softly inward. The thalamus, your brain's gatekeeper for sensory input, begins to close the outer world. Sounds fade. Light fades. The border between you and the world dissolves. But still, you're aware. Barely, softly, like standing in the doorway of a vast forest, knowing you're about to walk in, but pausing to listen one last time to the wind behind you. And tonight, that pause feels sacred. Because this evening, this slow, unfolding forth, has carried more meaning than most. You don't know why. You don't need to. What matters is that your body knows. Your brain knows. And it's preparing, not just for rest, but for integration. Soon, you'll enter the deeper waves, delta, Slow wave sleep, the true foundation, the cellular reset. But for now, you hover at the edge. In theta, in not dash, quite dash, sheer dot, and in this liminal space, your thoughts are water, flowing, curving around the banks of what you once understood. Perhaps you will dream of this moment. Perhaps not. But something has shifted. Something inside you has stepped into the deeper dark and found it kind. Because just beyond this pause, just beneath this breath, the stars begin to flicker in places you cannot see, not in the sky, but in the back of your mind. And now, you begin to wonder if some stars can only be seen when you close your eyes completely. Somewhere above you, stars are shining. Billions of them. Quiet, patient, unmoving from their place in the cosmos. But your eyes don't see them all, Dot. It's not your fault. You are surrounded by light. Street lamps, screens, faint glows from windows. The sky, though dark, is never truly black anymore. Light pollution, they call it. Not loud, not dirty, but a kind of forgetting. A drowning out of the quietest voices in the night. You step outside, look up, and maybe you see a handful. The brightest. The ones close enough or bold enough to resist the blur. But the rest, they're there. Science assures you. A galaxy above, unwavering, unchanged. You simply cannot perceive them, Dot. And so, the sky becomes a metaphor. A canvas. Of absence that is actually full. A vast unknown where the unseen remains. Isn't your mind a little like that too? All day long, neurons fire, electric signals leaping across synapses in tiny bursts of meaning, but you only feel a few. The big ones, the sharp thoughts, the emotions that flash and crash. The rest, they're quieter, subtle, just like the stars. Behind the haze, your brain holds more than you can ever consciously know. Memories, skills, impressions, instincts, ideas waiting to connect, questions half-formed, and just like the stars, they do not need to be visible to exist. Some things are only real in their quiet. Some truths prefer the dark, not because they hide, but because they belong there, Dot, in your brain. Deep in its nighttime rhythm, neurons continue their conversations. They don't need your awareness. They don't need attention. They simply do what they've always done. Process, pattern, protect. Even now, as you lie here, between wakefulness and sleep, your mind is building constellations. Not of stars, but of meaning. New connections form, not with lightning, but with patience. Tiny cells stretch their branches, dendrites, toward one another, bridging ideas across invisible space. Somewhere inside you, a memory from years ago finds a partner in a thought from today. This is how learning happens. Not always in the bright light of concentration, but in the diffuse glow of rest. Slow wave sleep, that deep stage just ahead, is when these connections truly strengthen. But the work begins now, in the near sleep drift of consciousness. Your eyes are closed, but your brain is watching, scanning the sky of itself, drawing lines between stars you didn't know were there. And just like the universe, the brain is mostly silent, mostly dark, but far from empty. Astronomers use telescopes to peer deeper into the night, filtering out noise, sharpening signal. In the same way, your sleeping mind filters the day, quieting the loudest moments, so it can hear the ones that mattered most. Sometimes what's hidden is not lost. Sometimes it's just waiting for stillness, waiting for less light, not more. Think of the stars you can't see tonight. Those cloaked by city glow, the ancient ones whose light has traveled thousands of years only to be stopped by a street lamp. Across the road, their messages didn't disappear. They were only intercepted, refracted, masked by something brighter, but less enduring. So too, with thoughts. How many subtle truths have been blocked by urgency, by noise, By the glare of modern life? Now, in this quiet, you begin to feel them again. The slower ideas, the gentle instincts, the long-forgotten questions you used to ask as a child. When? The sky was clearer, and wonder lived closer to the surface. And here, in this moment, you begin to see something new. The dark is not your enemy. It is a mirror, a signal amplifier. Darkness lets you hear your own mind again, not the loud parts, but the deep ones, the ones that whisper like starlight. There's a kind of peace in knowing. You don't have to see everything to trust that it's there. Your brain, like the universe, contains mysteries too vast to hold at once. The healing is happening. Processing is unfolding. And all you need to do is rest. No reaching, no scanning, just breathing. Because just beyond what you notice, just behind the haze, something is aligning. A thought, a dream, a pattern. And maybe, like those ancient stars, it's been on its way to you for a long time. You simply had to dim the world enough to receive it. And perhaps you wonder, what else rides on the frequencies of silence? What other messages, like starlight, arrive only when everything else quiets? You thought the world was quiet now, but it isn't. Not really. It's simply speaking in softer tones. The night, it seems, has changed its language. No more sharp footsteps, no sirens, no overlapping voices. Now, there are hums, creaks in the walls, the distant rustle of leaves against windows, and the whisper. Even whispers obey the rules of physics. They are not beyond measurement. They are waves, just like shouts, just like thunder. The difference is not what they are, but how gently they are born. A whisper is a sound that rides on less pressure. Your vocal cords barely vibrate. The breath carries the message with reverence, not force. And in the stillness of night, when the rest of the world holds its breath, a whisper can feel louder than a scream. Your ears, even now, are not sleeping. They remain alert, not in defense, but in curiosity. The human ear is remarkably sensitive. It can detect vibrations as soft as a billionth of a unit of pressure. In the quiet, it becomes a gate, a bridge between the seen and the felt. Right now, you may hear the fan, the wind outside, your own heartbeat, thudding gently inside your chest. And if you listen closely, the faint sound of breath, your own, and maybe something else. A memory, returning not in sight, but in sound. Whispers travel differently at night. The air is cooler, less turbulent. Sound bends in softer arcs, traveling closer to the ground. Wrapping around corners like a secret dot is why animals speak to each other differently in the dark. Why owls call softly. Why your own voice, if you dared to use it now, would sound deeper, rounder, almost intimate. You don't need to speak. Something else already has. A voice you almost recognize from long ago. It doesn't say your name, not directly, but the shape of it hangs in the air like something you've heard in a dream. The whisper triggers a sensation, not hearing exactly, but remembering, because the auditory system isn't just for sound. It is linked to memory, to emotion, to time. When you hear a familiar voice, your brain lights up in more than one place. The auditory cortex, yes, but also the hippocampus, the amygdala, the language centers that read tone and meaning. You're not just hearing, you're feeling. The shape of a moment dot and this whisper. This one brings something back. The fourth, not today's, but another. Buried, faint, a thread in the quiet dot. It comes not as a scene, but as a sensation. The feeling of sitting near someone who loved you. The way they leaned close to speak. Not loudly, but in that warm, quiet way that meant this is just for you. Science calls it episodic memory, the recollection of events wrapped in context. But it feels simpler, more tender. You don't need to know the exact year. You don't. need to recall every detail. Your body remembers the tone, the safety, the intimacy of a whisper on a summer evening. And here, tonight, in the middle of your stillness, it returns, not as an image, not as a voice you can name, but as presence. A nudge from the past reminding you, you've been held before. You've been seen. And even if time clouds the facts, the imprint remains. It's incredible, isn't it? That something as fragile as a whisper can cross years. That sound, shaped by air and breath and memory, can be carried not just across space, but through time. Inside your brain, the auditory pathways light up. Old neural connections awaken, perhaps unused for years, but intact. Your brain doesn't forget everything. It simply stores some things deeper, in quiet rooms with locked doors. And sometimes, it opens those doors when the world is quiet enough. To knock. Tonight is one of those nights. The science of hearing tells us that our ears never truly turn off. Even in sleep, they continue to process sound. They alert us to danger, to lullabies, to stories told in dreams. And as your mind inches closer to slumber, your ears remain, listening not just to the world, but to yourself. What else lives in sound? Your laughter, your sighs, your spoken hopes, the way your voice catches when you feel something too deeply to name. All of that is physics, vibration, energy translated through air, and it remains, not just as memory, but as influence. Whispers, even once spoken, shape the way you sleep, the way you feel, the way you carry silence. You breathe in, the room holds still, and you wonder, what whispers have you missed in the noise of the day? What truths wait to be heard only in darkness? Not truths spoken by others, but by you. Perhaps you once told yourself something quietly and forgot to listen. Or maybe your mind, tonight, is whispering something new. Not in words, but in pattern, in breath, in pulse. And if you lean into the silence just a little more, you might hear it or feel it, because just like sound, memory and emotion have wavelengths. And when they reach the right frequency, they resonate. They hum gently through the fabric of who you are. And so you lie there, bathed not in sound, but in the possibility of it. Somewhere in the distance, a whisper travels. Maybe it's yours. Maybe it's from long ago. Either way, you begin to wonder if time, like sound, can bend. If certain days, like the 4th, can echo longer than others. Not every day imprints itself upon you. Some vanish as quietly as they came, folding into the weeks and months like pages never read aloud. But some days repeat, not in events, exactly, but in rhythm, in resonance, as if something in your body remembers what your mind cannot name. The 4th, it feels like such a day. It's not that anything extraordinary happened, or maybe something did, long ago. Either way, your body has marked it, filed it, set it to echo year after year, like a soft chime in the background of time. Science has a name for this: chronobiology, the study of biological rhythms. Your body, like the earth, follows cycles. Daily, monthly, seasonal, even annual. It tracks time not just with clocks, but with chemistry. Inside you, cells pulse in patterns. Hormones rise and fall. Your sleep, your hunger, your attention, your mood, all fluctuate with light, with temperature, with memory encoded into flesh. And sometimes, even without knowing why. You feel it. The shift, not just from day into night, but from one circle of memory into the next. Perhaps this is what gives rise to déjà vu, that eerie familiarity. That sense that you've been here before, not just in place, but in feeling. It's not always mystical. The brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It stores sensory experiences. The smell of rain on warm concrete, the pitch of late summer crickets, the light through a particular window. When those inputs align again, your brain lights up and whispers, I remember. And yet, not all repetition is coincidence. In nature, repetition is intelligence. Flowers bloom in season. Birds migrate with near-perfect timing. Even trees release pollen on the same days each year, guided not by calendars, but by conditions encoded in evolution. You, too, are part of that legacy, a human animal, rooted in ancient rhythms, shaped by cycles older than language. And so the fourth repeats, maybe not in what happens, but in how it feels. The air smells the same. Your breath moves differently. The sky shifts in that familiar way, as if it's performing a dance you forgot you learned. And your body, your quiet, remembering body, responds. On this evening, you feel it more clearly. Not just as a day, but as a doorway. As something you've passed through before. Not quite a memory. Not quite a dream. More like a rhythm reawakening. This is the mystery of seasonal coding, the way environmental cues imprint on biology. Some scientists believe your immune system, your brain chemistry, even your gene expression can change based on the time of year. Your cells, those microscopic libraries of knowledge, can be trained to anticipate, to prepare for what has happened before, even when you don't consciously expect it. Perhaps that's why today feels familiar. Because it is. Not in the world outside, but in the soft electrical language of your cells. The fourth repeats, not because the world insists upon it, but because your inner world answers to a deeper clock. One not measured in minutes, but in meaning. And tonight, that meaning stirs. You remember something. Or you think you do. Maybe a voice, or a breeze, or a sentence someone once said under this very sky. The words are lost, but the feeling remains. A warmth behind the ribcage, a tightening of the throat, a soft sense of return. You wonder, have I been here before? Have I stood in this moment, not just once, but again and again, year after year? Not frozen in time, but spiraled in it, because perhaps time isn't a line. Perhaps it's a circle, or a wave, or something stranger still. Maybe it folds, loops, repeats in hidden harmonies. And maybe your dreams, those stories your brain tells while you sleep, are the echoes of past fourths knocking quietly on the doors of tonight. You lie still, listening not for sound, but for rhythm. Your heartbeat, your breath, the pacing of your thoughts. Do they feel different? Do they remember? Your nervous system is wise. It encodes experiences in pathways so that you respond not only to what is happening, but to what has happened before. A smell can bring you home. A song can unravel years. A single date, the fourth, can pull an entire feeling out of the air. Maybe it was the day something ended, or began, or changed you quietly without ceremony. You don't need to recall it in words. Your body has stored it in sensation. That's enough. And now, as night deepens, you begin to let that sensation rise. Not to dissect it, but to honor it. To let it move through you like wind across tall grass, present and passing. You are not bound to the past, but you are shaped by it. And some shapes repeat. Not to trap you, but to teach you. Patterns are how life learns, how it strengthens, how it remembers what to hold and what to let go. So let this night unfold. Let the fourth return, not as a demand, but as a gentle remembering of what mattered, of what still matters, of what quietly asks to be seen even now, because somewhere inside you, something is still listening. A rhythm you didn't know you were keeping. A clock that ticks not in time, but in meaning. And you begin to wonder if sleep, too, remembers. If in the next hour, in dreams yet to come, you will visit something you've already lived. You've arrived. Not by force, not by effort. But by allowing dot, you do not fall asleep. You drift gently, like a feather that has finally let the wind carry it home. Your body has done its part. The rhythms aligned. The signals fired. The systems whispered their readiness. And now, in this final motionless moment, sleep begins to rise from within you. Like warm water seeping into cool sand dot, it's not sudden. It's not a door that shuts. It's more like mist gathering on glass, layer by layer, until the world outside fades. You are no longer here, but not yet gone. And in this in-between space, your body takes the lead. Your breathing deepens, each inhale longer, each exhale slower. The balance shifts from voluntary to automatic, from thought to trust. Your heart continues, steady and calm. It's beta, lullaby older than language. And somewhere beneath the calm, your brain enters a new rhythm. Sleep is not one state. It is many. Stages, cycles, layers of letting go. First, you pass into NREM sleep, non-rapid eye movement. It is quiet here, deep and slow. In these early stages, your brain waves change again. Delta waves, broad, low, and slow, roll like ocean swells across the cortex. This is slow wave sleep, the body's repair mode. Muscles rebuild, tissues mend. The immune system begins its sweep, searching for cells to restore, inflammation to ease, balance to reset. Your brain, for all. Its silence is not idle. It clears out waste through the lymphatic system, a cleansing process unique to sleep. Think of it like an internal tide, fluid washing through neural valleys, removing debris, proteins, toxins, molecular clutter, so that when you wake, your mind is clearer. This is real. This is science. And it happens every night, in this invisible place beneath your awareness. Your blood pressure drops. Your temperature dips. Your muscles lie still. Even pain softens here. Your body is not pausing life. It is performing one of the most essential acts of living. And then a shift. The cycle turns. You approach REM sleep, rapid eye movement. The dreaming stage. Your brain, now cleaner, sparks back into activity. Not as before, not with worry or logic or structure, but with creativity. The limbic system lights up. Emotion, memory, imagination. The prefrontal cortex, your inner critic, quiets down. And so the dreaming begins. It is here that your memories mix, rewriting themselves in metaphor. Faces appear. Places blur. The events of your day twist into something new. This is your mind's way of integrating, of playing, of healing. You dream not because something is wrong, but because something is working. Your eyes flicker beneath closed lids. Muscles remain still, a safeguard, so you do not act out dream. But inside, you are moving, flying, speaking, becoming. Sometimes the dream makes no sense. Sometimes it feels truer than anything waking is offered. And sometimes, like tonight, it carries a thread. The fourth. It returns, not in date, not in numbers, but in feeling. The echo of a voice. The scent of a summer you can't place. A house you've never seen, but know by heart. This is the mind's gift. Its way of returning. You to places you didn't know you still held. You do not need to remember the dream in the morning. Its work will be done regardless. But still, in the middle of this night, you feel it happening. Your dream pulls a memory forward, not to explain, but to release. Not to hold, but to understand. The fourth repeats not only in waking, but in dreaming, in the colors behind your closed eyes, in the sensations that rise without names. Time folds here. 1 year brushing against another. The child you are meeting, the self you've become on a shoreline you've never walked. And all the while, your body rests. Your cells restore. Your breath continues, soft and sure. Outside, the world is still turning. But in here, you are held. Is the final surrender. Not a giving up, but a giving in dot to biology, to rhythm, to the necessity of rest dot. Your body knows what to do. Your brain is already doing it. You simply sleep, and in that sleep, you dream, you heal, you let go. Whatever the fourth holds, memory or mystery, it lives now beneath the surface, woven into the fabric of this night. You don't need to carry it. It carries you. Peace doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes it comes with cycles, with breath, with trust, with the quiet repetition of being dot, and so you drift, wrapped in sleep's warm gravity as tomorrow begins to hum faintly on the horizon, a soft suggestion that waits, without asking dot, because now, in the deepest layer of night, you begin to wonder what it means to wake slowly, without forgetting what the dream tried to say. You've traveled far, not in miles, but in moments, across sky and shadow, rhythm and memory, dot, and now. There is nothing left to do, dot, no questions to answer, no thoughts to hold, no time to follow. You are here. Your body knows. Your breath knows. Everything has slowed, just as it should. Let the stillness carry you now, gently, like waves that have forgotten the shore. There is nothing behind you, nothing ahead. Only this soft floating now, dot, feel the weight of your limbs. Heavy, but not burden, anchored in comfort, supported by silence. The sky outside is watching over you. The earth turns, slow and sure. And you are safe to. Let go, dot, let go of the day. Let go of the fourth. Let go of needing to remember anything at all. Your dreams will hold what matters. Your breath will carry you the rest of the way. Deeper, slower, softer, dot. Sleep is not far now. It is already unfolding around you. A warm, dark coat, a velvet room, a place where even thoughts can fall asleep. And you may rest, dot, completely, dot. You are safe. You are whole. You are home. And now, as our story gently fades, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this moment with me. Dot, your presence here means the world, and your support helps me create even more peaceful journeys. Just for you. If this helped you rest, please consider liking, subscribing, or simply coming back tomorrow night. Dot, until then, stay cozy, stay kind, and may your dreams tonight be soft, serene, and full of wonder. Good night, my friend. With warmth, David.